Welcome to 33 Vlog. My name is Erika. I'm one of the founders here at 33. We have a mission making athletes faster and healthier through natural sport nutrition. Whatever is your first park run, gym session, or you are an experienced athlete, even if you are a gold medalist, an ultra runner, Ironman, 33 Shake Natural Sport Nutrition can help you to achieve your goals. It's incredible, powerful, natural, and it's tasty. There are a lot of podcasts hosted by men speaking to men. So I thought to take the opportunity to interview inspirational women doing amazing things. That is why today's guest is Sophie Power. Welcome to Sophie Power. She's an ultramarathon. She competed the Marathon des Alpes. She competed also on the Spartathlon in Greece, 153 miles race. She did the UTMB, the Ultra Trail du Mont Blanc. She is a mom of 2 beautiful kids, and she is also a social impact entrepreneur. So on the International Women's Day, Sophie was listed as one of the 6 female most inspirational runners over the past years. That's fantastic. So let's step in the world of Sophie Power. So welcome, Sophie.
Thank you.
So it's so great to have you. And I'm very excited to speak with you, not only because you are so inspirational, but you can be a great inspiration also for a lot of other women that they run and that they have to juggle their life, being a mom, being a wife, being an entrepreneur, and and not doing just a little short run, doing a proper long distance.
I think it's a bit crazy. I mean, for me, I'm just a mum, and I love being a mum. I love my boys, and I love running. And I'm quite good at combining the two. And I think the other women listed were very much kind of pro runners, and they achieve amazing things in their sport. I think I'm in there more just because, not more for me, but more as a kind of a figurehead. That actually, yes, there are pro runners and their job is to run, but most people who enjoy running are not professional athletes. We have jobs, we have families, we're juggling, and for me, it's a case of saying, our running is something that's special to us. It's our me time, the time I have to myself. I can't answer emails when I'm running. I will fall over, especially where I've moved down to the trails in Guildford. I will fall over. So it's really saying kind of there are this massive world of non-professional athletes that actually can achieve great things, and we can do crazy distances and crazy speeds and crazy endurance as well as having a job. And we should just kind of reflect that that's most people. Most people are not Dina Asher Smith, who's amazing, but most people can never be like her, but most people can be like me.
That's amazing, because I don't think so it's so easy to be a mom, especially with 2 very young child, and following your dreams. So also as a person, like thinking about, okay, what do I want to achieve? How can I achieve it? And especially if things is more physical, because mental probably you can find more the space, but physical you really need hours and hours on your feet, running on the trail, where you can't really look at it, watch your kids, or doing something else.
You can't. But I think mums are the best multitaskers in the world, and we're the most efficient people in the world. And it's only when you have such limited time, and you want to fit everything in, that you realize, what doesn't have to be in your day, and take those big decisions as to. There are some things you can't do everything. This whole you can have it all, it's rubbish. You can't have it all. Maybe you can have it all, but not at the same time. So kind of 100% mother, then 100% career. But for me, it's having enough. And there's lots of things that I don't need to do. We've only just got Netflix. I don't really watch TV. I don't have time. I work in the evening, so I can free up space in my day to run and to be with my boys. I think if most people look at their diary and break their day down and go, what could what could go? There's probably quite a few things that can go. And then when it comes to my training, I'm just ultra efficient at only doing the mileage I need to do and the sessions I need to do to get to where I want to be. There's no junk in there. There's no time for junk.
Do you have a coach for this, or is something that you are able to manage by yourself?
So I've had a weight training coach, and for the last Nick Kinsella for the last 7, 8 years, but he just moved to Madrid. So I've had a weight training coach for a long time, and then my running I did myself. It was only when I had a place in Spartathlon that I realized, running 20 miles a week, I was getting through 100 milers quite happily on 20 miles a week. Spartathlon, that wasn't going to work. So I got a coach, Robbie Britton, who's an amazing kind of ultra runner. And then after UTMB, I have a new coach, Edwina Sutton, who is an incredible female ultra runner. I think especially after coming back after having a baby, it's much easier to discuss how your body's feeling with a woman who also has children. And she fits everything in. And I talk to her, and it's very much, how's my life going? What's going well? What are the best, most effective sessions? What can we pass on? And she's absolutely brilliant at making me get out the door. So yesterday I had to do a 60-minute run, recovery, and I was like, I don't want to do this. And I was like, no, I have the time. I can make the time. Let's do it. My husband's like, you've got to get out there. It's on your program, and this is why you're doing the run. So yes, I have a coach. It would be difficult to really fit everything in now without someone kind of on my back, making sure I do.
So you were saying also the support of your husband. This is quite interesting. So is your husband also him an athlete? How are you able to make him understand in your necessity as an ultra runner? Because it's not just a necessity. It's like, I will run a half marathon, so you don't need as much as training. So tell me something about it. How you do that?
So when we met when I just turned 20. And we were interns in an investment bank, and neither one of us were athletes. I'd never run a mile at this point. He'd never run at all. But he grew up being a very good tennis player, a very good horse rider. And I fell into ultra running kind of the same time he kind of fell into triathlon. And then we ended up doing Ironman together. And we just I signed him up for... this sounds terrible. I signed him up for a stage race in Nepal without telling him. So I come back home and I go, honey, we're going to Nepal for holiday. He goes, great. We're running at 250 kilometers and we're carrying everything we need for the week. He's like, okay. But he's a great athlete. He's incredibly strong mentally. He's just done the Ice Ultra a few years ago. He's going to do it again in January. So we're wired very similarly. We both like time in nature. We like to push our boundaries. He completely understands me. And he's completely behind me, and I'm completely behind him. I think it would be very difficult if he didn't understand why I need to get out and be on my own for periods of time. He needs the same. He goes out for runs and cycles. And we're bringing our boys up to not be pushed in sport, but to just have this appreciation of being outside and looking in forests and finding things and running up hills. And I'm very lucky that he's completely supportive of me and I'm completely supportive of him.
Yeah, so basically you give also to him the space to train, and that I think is not so easy also to juggle that, because both of you probably need quite a lot of time separately to make that happen for training.
You think so? And I think that's where, if I wanted to be for example, if I wanted to be on the British ultramarathon running team, I would need to be running 80 miles a week. My life does not allow for 80 miles a week. So that's just what's going to happen. Am I going to be the quickest I can be? No. That's okay. Like, my goal is not to be a pro athlete. My goal is to feel physically fit, to enjoy my training, to do the best I can within my boundaries. And I think that's where it comes down to saying you can't have it all. You can't be the 100% best athlete and the 100% kind of best businesswoman, 100% best kind of family life all at once. It doesn't work. So we try and spend time together. We get up early. At the weekends, if you looked at our diary of I get up early and train, then I'm off to park. He gets early train, then I'm off to park run. Then he takes my oldest son to ballet and tap. Then I get back from that. Then he goes off spinning, and then the morning is kind of done, and then afternoons are all family time. So we manage it. We juggle. We do it together. At the moment, I've got the biggest race next, so I'll spend more time at the weekend than him, and then his big race is January, and then it'll all shift back towards him. So I mean, his goals are my goals and my goals are his goals. So it's about making sure that we both hit our goals and as a family.
I think that is a great line, his goals is my goals, because I totally understand this. Warren and myself, we both like, to race, we like to do sports. And also with our work as an entrepreneurs from other side, we are working actually together, like to train on the same, course. And that actually, I think it does help a lot also the couple, the relationship between the couple. I don't know in your case, but I think if maybe your husband, he was not being also him an athlete, probably he couldn't understand your necessities.
I think so, although I would always encourage him to have something that was him. So I think when I kind of talk to mums, and a lot of them say, I'm not a runner, but I'm inspired by this because I love to paint, or I love to dance, or I love to cook, or something that's their passion. And I think it's really important to have something that is you, that is not your family and not your work. As I always talk about kind of when I was younger and I was made redundant in a really nasty way after I got married and told to go and have babies, because that's what you do when you get married as you're a woman in finance. This was quite a long time ago. And I went into kind of a depressive state because I'd put my whole kind of image of myself as my career. And that was me, and I was defined by my career. And I was kind of a young woman. I was killing it in finance. I was doing really well in working in these companies. And that was me. And I now realize that I can't allow just to be one thing. And it's really unhealthy, because when you lose that and someone can take that away from you so easily, then you have nothing else. So for me, it's important to be your career is very important. Your family is very important. But you yourself are important, and whatever it is that makes you you, and you love doing to relax, and you love doing to excel at, and to kind of get some kind of real kind of passion in, it's important to have that. So if he wasn't an athlete and he liked doing something completely different, I would encourage him to have something that wasn't just going to work and coming back to the family. It's important. For me, the kind of mental health is just as important as physical health.
Absolutely. I think actually finding that balance, following your dreams, following something that actually fulfill you is very, very, it's fundamental. It keep you young inside also when you will be older, because otherwise your life, it became just a repetition. Work, family. There is nothing else where actually you can find that to fulfill yourself.
I mean, my husband's amazing. So we moved out of London 3 months ago. And now he gets up at 5 o'clock every morning to take the first train, one of the first trains into London, so that he can get back for the boys for bedtime. I'm lucky I work more flexibly. So I go up kind of 3 days a week, but I can do drop off first. But then he comes home and then he does bedtime. And then he'll often go to the gym at 8 o'clock when the boys are in bed to train. But if he didn't get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, that wouldn't all be possible. So he knows that he needs something else, and we also then need kind of time just as a couple. It's not the same when you have the boys around the whole time. You need that time as well and have shared interests. And luckily, we both like kind of going out for a nice long hike in the woods.
That's fantastic. So now I would like to speak about something that it took my attention, but not only mine, and was your picture of breastfeeding your 3 months years old during the UTMB. That this picture is gone viral, and if you don't mind, we will post it also on our social media, if you don't mind. And
I think everyone's seen it now.
It's so fantastic, and it triggered a global debate about motherhood. So tell me something about it, because you are really creating a huge difference.
I think the first thing is I never set out to do any of it, and I was just getting on with feeding a baby at a checkpoint. And I think for me, the one side is how the race came about. So I lost out on my UTMB place when I was pregnant with my first son. You have to get points over 2 years to do it. And I kept losing out in the ballot, and they wouldn't defer my place of pregnancy. They defer it for an injury. They don't defer for pregnancy. That's their policy. I asked them to change it. They said no. And then I lost out in places. And finally I had another place, like an automatic one, because I'd missed out so many times. And it happened to be in kind of August 2018. I knew January 2017 because I'd lost out. And I assumed I'd have an older baby because we're trying for a baby. Life doesn't work that way. And I realized that I'd been on the start line with a 3-month-old. And for us, it was just sit down as a family going, well, this is a long shot, but how could we do this? Like, what would have to happen for this to happen? Let's not think of the reasons why not. Let's think of it's not likely, but how could this happen? We went through, okay, well, through the pregnancy, keeping fit and strong, doing all the things that I'll need to do. So keep my cardio up, stop running at 5 months, because I knew that when I ran longer my first pregnancy, I had a lot of pelvic floor problems when I gave birth. And then get back into cardio and strength and replicating the course. So on pregnancy, I was on the stair mill rather than and walking incline and treadmill. And then going through everything on the big Excel spreadsheet. There's a very big Excel spreadsheet on how I could keep my milk supply up, how I could just test things, how I could get the baby there. So for us, it was just this is what we do as a family. If there's a problem, then we come together and we say, how can this happen? And then we look at what that means and we say, is that crazy? And this was at the onset crazy, but then things fell into place and my recovery went really well. I had a great water birth with Cormac. Recovered really well. So it all started being more and more real. I only started running really 4 weeks before. And I only really decided that I was going to get around that whole course a few days before the race and not just be on the start line and enjoy it. So that's the side kind of behind it. And for me, it was, well, I'm breastfeeding exclusively. And I'm going to be in a lot of pain with the milk. So I'm going to have to feed him. How do I do that with the nanny looking after Donica, bringing him to the checkpoint, John, my husband, being there, my friend Matt being there. So for me, this was just how the Power family were going to run this race as a family. And then a photographer asked to take my photo, and he asked my husband, and the photographer is Lexus Berg, and he's one of the most famous ultra running photographers in the world. His photographs are absolutely beautiful. I've been following them for ages. I didn't recognize him because I recognize his photos. But my husband said yes and asked me, and only because I wanted them to change the policy on the race. So the race, I thought maybe they'll see this as a Strava story or as a Run a World story and say, we should change our policy because look, there's this woman here. she's lost out for years. She'd love to run the next year really fit, and that would have been my preference. I mean, this was crazy what I was doing, but I was looking at like another 5 years maybe without this race. I wouldn't have done this for a race that I could have just done the next year easily. I'd have waited a few months. It was a bit crazy, but this has been a dream for a long time. And then the first I knew that they'd shared it, they showed me the photo. I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy, but it's so beautiful, and it's for me kind of everything about kind of how I love my son and my boys. So then it went shared, and then it went a bit crazy, and people sharing it on so many different levels, from kind of a more superficial level, like she's breastfeeding in public, let's start a debate on why this is okay, to levels of breastfeeding, especially they're very low in the United Kingdom, and they should be higher. A lot of women aren't given the support they need, to just the whole motherhood debate, which is what I love to speak about, which is that mothers are amazing. We're so strong. Women are so strong. We can recover quickly. And we deserve the chance to be more than just a mother, be the person that we were before we had babies, is still the same person. And we have our hopes and dreams as well as those for our children. And we should be supported to keep following them.
It's fantastic. But did they UTMB, did they change then the policy, or they didn't?
Unfortunately not, as far as I'm aware. I mean, they're obviously very, very aware of the photo. They couldn't not be. And it's really especially sad to me because it's a female race director. So you'd think that they'd understand, but her policy is that you choose when you get pregnant. Now, I and millions of women know out that you do not choose when you get pregnant. You don't press a button and a baby pops out. Yeah. And they say kind of, well, what about kind of other things that affect men more? I think pregnancy and having babies is the biggest difference between men and women athletes. And we should be given help for that. And I think if you ask every man in the race, you'll get a massive majority that want to see more women in the race. It's only 10% women. And I feel like a second-class citizen because women are not supported. And they support but they support the men. So they haven't changed. But what has happened is most of the big international races have put policies in place that say that you can defer your entry if you become pregnant once you have it, or you can get a refund. And they're really supporting the female athletes. And even if not many women take it up, it's just something to say we really value women running ultramarathons, and we believe in women and their abilities. And I think that's the positive outcome I'm taking from it.
Fantastic. I think it's the best how positive message, and seeing actually that some races they are doing, because it sounds really incredible that is not one of the possibility why you're not able to race. Injuries, yes. Pregnancy, no. That sounds really backward. There is another aspect that is very interesting because, of course, you just gave birth 3 months before to your little baby. How do you train while you're pregnant?
I think the first thing is there's very little advice out there because you can't really test on pregnant women. So everyone's making it up as they go along. And our bodies are amazing. And they tell us when things are wrong. So if things feel wrong, they're probably wrong. If things feel right, they're probably right. So I followed a few kind of basic rules. I never got too much out of breath for long periods of time. I never got too hot. So I was doing spin class, and God forbid anyone take the bike right by the big fan. Like, that was my bike. Like, get off my bike. I want the bike by the big fan. With a spray bottle of water, slowing down if I got too hot. And there's certainly kind of don't be on your back for long periods of time, and protect your belly. So I box, but when I did my kind of boxing sessions, no one was allowed to punch me, which is quite nice because of the belly. So I think it's very much, I went into pregnancy both times really strong. And the problem is on the spectrum, it's always about avoiding risk and not focusing on the benefits. So if you listen to everything, you would just sit on the couch your pregnancy, go for a little walk, and eat too much. Whereas actually exercise is shown to kind of increase outcomes in labor if you're fit. I mean, like giving birth is an endurance event. You need to be fit for an endurance event. My first labor was from start waters breaking to baby was 40 hours. My second was a bit quicker, but it's hard, and you want to be kind of physically ready. So for me, I started weight training as usual. When I didn't feel like running anymore, I stopped running. When different weight exercises, kind of the bump got in the way, I sat down with my trainer and said, what are we trying to do with this exercise? Is there another way of working that same muscle or creating that same instability? He was behind me on some of the more unstable things, like kind of lunging forward and pushing back. He was right behind me. So there's lots of things you can do in pregnancy. I wouldn't ride a bike because I'm not very good on a bike. A lot of people feel comfortable riding a bike. So it's what you're comfortable doing. But I think if we focus only on the risk and not the benefits, the overall outcomes for most women will be worse. And especially when you give birth, you're going to have to be picking up this baby. I even put my back out with transferring him from one side to the other, breastfeeding at night. So it's important to be strong. Preparing for motherhood is a fitness program. It's like another race.
Exploring better the connection with your body and know better what your body is telling you. If it's telling you that something is wrong, it means it's wrong. If it's telling you it's fine, keep doing it. And I think this is something not everyone they are able to know because they don't know their body. It's listen to your body is such a difficult thing at the very beginning. It probably a woman, because when she get pregnant, she started to have all this new sensation that before never had. You started to explore more the connection with your body.
I think that's right. I think when you're fit and healthy, kind of everything feels fine. And I know that there are a lot of people that don't wake up every morning feeling great. For me, if I don't feel great, there's something wrong and I go and work out what it is. This morning I'm knackered because my baby kept me up between 2 and 4 wanting a chat. He was just going, blah, 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 blah. I was like 2 hours. I was like, okay, I'm tired. But also I'm like, okay, well, actually my leg is a little bit sore from a run. I look through it because normally I feel fit and healthy. And in pregnancy, then you can take that through and say, this feels a bit funny. This feels a bit funny. My undercarriage hasn't quite gone back together yet. There's a little ligament, and I know when I run certain ways, I feel it, and then I do make sure I do my physio exercises that I'm always forgetting to do. It's important to know your body, but to know what's wrong, you kind of have to get it, for me, in a good state first, and then be kind of pain-free, kind of ache-free, and go, right, this is the baseline. If it's not the baseline, what's happened to me? And that's a lot of kind of diet and exercise and sleep and working on it. And I think I'm lucky that I've got to the position where that's all mostly in place. For others, they have a while to go to get there.
So for the diet, for example, what is your outcome? Which is your advice?
So my trainer jokes that if I didn't run, I'd be the size of a house. I really love food, and I love quite naughty food as well. It's good food. For me, it's having struggled with my weight for years. I was the fat kid, and I struggled to keep weight off. When I did my MBA, it was 10 months and I put on 20 pounds because I was drinking wine and eating too much cheese. It was in France. And then Singapore, I was eating this fried food. So for me, it's the more I train, the better my diet is because my body tells me it needs good recovery food. So it's really, really bad. If I'm injured, it's terrible because my body's not telling me to take in really good food. And I have to control myself. When I'm training, I actually don't want the whole tub of ice cream because I'm reaching for the fruit and veg and the recovery shake. So I would listen to me on diet. I think the main thing is always have food that you love. Because some of these kind of diets I see and I go, I don't like anything of that. Eat really lovely food. Choose the best quality food you can. If I eat better quality chocolate, I eat less of it than I eat the kids stuff that's kind of the kids chocolate. Yeah, I actually wouldn't listen to me on diet.
And how do you feed all your long ultras?
I eat real food. I hate sticky, fruity gels. I've never used them. I think they're terrible for the teeth. I eat real food. Salty is really important. Sweet, a mix. But I think of what I actually eat on runs. Long ones. So a race, they have lots of different things. So in the UTMB, they have ham and cheese and bread and little crackers. They're really great. I love salt and vinegar crisps. They always go down really well. Flapjacks I make with chia seeds in them. Then hot cross buns. This is like really like Boost bars, Snickers bars, nuts. I mean, it's a whole list of whatever my body says it wants to eat, I give it. In Spartathlon, I had guacamole wraps because I had a crew. That was guacamole is brilliant. It's so calorific, and you can eat it by the spoon.
And how did you find it when you were doing the UTMB and you were breastfeeding your kid, but at the same time you had also to think about yourself, feed yourself, but at the same time you said, my mind needed to produce milk, so I needed to give more to myself. How was that? Because you probably were forcing extra food, or how did you were able to deal with that?
I've never hated eating so much. It was so an ultra is an eating and drinking race, especially in that distance. You can get through a 50 miler without kind of worrying too much. You might have a few bad hours. I was out there 43 hours. So first of all, I didn't have any fat burning optimization because before I would go for a 2-hour run fasted, but you can't do that. I mean, I need to eat before I get out of bed when I'm breastfeeding because I'm so hungry in the morning. So that was never going to work. So it was really almost like spreadsheeted that I needed kind of 300 calories per hour for the first kind of 18 hours, which while you're on the move is a huge amount. And I couldn't let myself kind of go under that because then you can't really play catch up. Your digestive system can't say, oh, I haven't eaten 3 hours, I'll have 900. When you're on the move, it doesn't work. So I would just find myself at checkpoints going, I have to eat 300 calories before I leave, or 500 and take some stuff with me. And it was horrible. It was just, if I don't eat this food, then maybe I can keep moving, but I won't have my milk supply. And that was really important to me. So it was hard. It was really hard. It's hard enough not having to breastfeed. The amount of food you have to consume to do it and breastfeed is, it's just not fun. And I love food, and that really wasn't fun.
I bet. It was another challenge in the challenge. So I know that you are passionate on empowering women, and you are doing it. But to me, seeing your story, reading about you, it was interesting that a lot of things they come from you being a mom or mom to be. So the picture of you breastfeeding your 3 months old baby at one of the checkpoints of the UTMB went so viral that it gave you the opportunity to spread an important message of motherhood and running. And again, because you were a mom to be, you realize a danger of the air pollution. This led you to find a solution, and you design an hair filter, and you build a business around it. Tell me more about it. I'm very excited to know.
So when I was pregnant with my first son, Danica, so this is about 5 years ago, I realized that, as every mum does, you do everything to look at how you have a healthy pregnancy. So yes, the diet and exercise, um, but how do you protect your unborn child? Like, what should I be supplements taking? And I realized that the air pollution when I lived in London was making his lungs smaller. So he would be born with lungs that were smaller than they should be, and um, they'd never recover in size. So I thought, how can I create something to protect from the air pollution? And in London, it's mostly nitrogen dioxide from the diesel fumes, and nothing existed. So I co-founded a technology company with a professor of atmospheric chemistry at the University of Copenhagen, called Air Labs, and we created this technology. So you have a consumer product out there, done large partnerships with Stella McCartney, who's amazing, who has it in her store, and really spreads the message. And in large stations in London, and we're at the Body Shop, JCDecaux. So that was my company, and I ran that until very recently, where I stepped down to let a new CEO take over, and away from the business, because you cannot have it all. And I felt that I was missing out time with my kind of youngest, and actually I've got lots of other projects to do. But yeah, I juggled running a business with training for UTMB. I took 10 days maternity leave and went back part-time, and my life was one big juggle. But very much being an entrepreneur, building the company up, and having my sons. I mean, my sons, I think, drive everything I do now. Everything when you're a mum, your family factors in every decision. But the company, very much my passion about kind of air pollution, and maybe now not so much kind of cleaning it, but stopping it being made in the first place. And how do we get governments to reduce the amount of emissions, and how do we help people avoid them, is really kind of part of my heart. So now my projects are very much driven by kind of what I want the world to look like for my boys, and how can I play my part in making that a better place.
How were you able to grow the company in such a small amount of time? Because when did you started the company?
Started it in summer of 20. I'm trying to think, but I can do it with the dates of my babies. Summer of 2014.
Exactly. So in really few years, you were able to make it really successful. How you did it?
I guess one side is kind of my time, one side is the company itself. The biggest thing for me is, if you hire really, really smart, driven, passionate people, and you leave them to work, and you challenge them, they will come up with amazing things. So as a kind of a leader, I'm definitely kind of hire the best possible people, work with them, encourage them, empower them. An amazing team of scientists in Copenhagen, and we just pushed, and we knew it was so important. And they said, this can't be done. I said, but why not? Let's go and try it. Let's see. And I, how long will this take? And they say 4 years. And I go, okay, let's see where we can get to in 4 months. And they come back, and it's like 90% there. So for me, it's putting kind of a commercial brain I had to a really big problem, and trying to find a really effective solution that actually made an impact. Like, there's lots of companies out there that have these niche products, and for me it's like, how do I make the biggest possible impact? And actually, there's one thing that's a product. For me, it's the bigger impact we had was educating and changing the view on air pollution. So 5 years ago, not many people talked about it. Now in London, it's all anyone talks about. And they talk about it in a much broader sense than before, because we've put things out there from our research that's gone to big university research programs. So for me, a lot of the impact that we could have has been done that way. And I'm really, really proud of what we created. And happy to step back now. The company's commercializing. It's all about kind of making products. But for me, the big impact was the story we had, and obviously having kind of 2 small children, and speaking as a mum had a much greater impact than being just a company. But for me, managing it, I mean, it's all about help. And I think more women or men that manage to do things should have to talk about the help they get. Um, I had a 24/3 nanny when Danica was born after 3 months. So she came Monday morning, she left Thursday lunchtime, sole charge. So and as a CEO, I could work flexibly. So I would train in the morning, then I'd be doing my breastfeeding, then I'd work, then I feed again, then I pick up, and then I work in the evening. So it's all having nannies and childcare and cleaners and all the things that you can take off that you don't want to do, um, and then having help for the rest. You can't have some people do, but like do all the childcare for your children and run a business and have a clean and tidy home and manage everything. It doesn't happen. And anyone that says on their social media that it does and they have this perfect life without any help, I would kind of call their bluff.
I totally understand. And also, not only because you didn't have only a job, or in any case, as in a high position, you were creating a job, you were creating a difference. And this idea of the impact that it will be for the future of your kids is so outstanding. We all have a mission for next generation. We at 33 have the mission for next generation and this generation to make sport nutrition healthy from real food. Ordinary sport nutrition products are exactly the opposite of real food. If you look at the ingredients in ordinary sport nutrition, it looks like more a list of a chemistry experiment. The power of real food is way more beneficial. For us, this was the innovation. It's not so easy for everyone to embrace innovation. I would imagine that you had a similar difficulty at the very beginning. Try to explain and make people aware about the danger of air pollution, especially for newborns.
I think you have to be, it's really hard being the only one saying something. Um, and you're hammering on a door. And I remember going to speak to the government about air pollution and about our units and about one of the problems. And they're like, great, because you could just put these units kind of by our monitoring stations, and then you clean the air around the monitoring station, and then the levels would be really low that we have to report to EU. And I really hope the guy was joking. But that's the kind of thing that they're like, well, it's not a problem. Kind of, where are the health problems? And then they start coming out and they start coming out. And then you're actually kind of, now I'm kind of mainstream. But 5 years ago, I wasn't. And it's really hard. And I think you have to work out who the early adopters are and who cares. And for me, it was the people that cared like me. It was the mums. Mums would do anything for their babies. And it's saying, okay, when you're at a crossing, or take the back streets. When you're at a crossing, take a few steps back. When you're cooking, make sure you're ventilating your home. This is for your children's lungs. Getting them talking about it meant that other people talked about it and people heard the news. So it's hard being the only one, or what you feel like the only one, or kind of the radical people. But trying to chip away at who's most likely to get on the bandwagon quicker. And the companies, obviously kind of Body Shop's an incredible environmental company. Stella McCartney's an unbelievable person that it's so much more than a fashion brand. She's creating sustainable fashion and putting that into other companies. She's amazing.
How you were able to create that connection? How did you contact her? Did you contact her directly, or did it happen through someone else?
She called me. They read about the technology in the newspaper. I think one of the things that I knew my strength was speaking about the problem from the side of a mum, was taking my kind of son on the BBC and playing with things and just saying that this is the person that we're hurting here. And they called me, and they were doing the new store on Bond Street, and I said, can we have kind of some form of sculpture? Can we do something around air pollution? It's such a problem here, and we want to play our part. And I said, I'll clean the air in your entire store. Because of the people that work there, not about come to our store because you have lots of money and you can kind of shop in a clean air zone, but because she's employing people and expecting them to work in a polluted area. And that gave us both a platform to talk about the problem of workers breathing bad air, especially in kind of retail jobs, in lesser skilled jobs, often by the worst air qualities. And that was brilliant. And we really value the fact that they came to us. The same thing with the body shop, the same thing with Marylebone Station. It gave us a much bigger platform to talk about things. So that was great.
Fantastic, fantastic. So what's next? What is happening in your life? Where are you now?
I'm at home. So at the moment, I left our labs a few months ago, and whilst I love it forever, it's very difficult as something that's been your baby, your third child, to have kind of less than any involvement is 100%. So I've left the amazing team to grow that, and I'm working on some social impact projects with different companies and advising them. So I'm just back from Guatemala, running a race with Impact Marathon Series, which is an incredible company I've been advising for a few years, where they run a week-long marathon in incredible countries, Guatemala, Nepal, Malawi, and Kenya. And you go out and you work with some incredible local charities during the week, some pretty manual labor, and really understand kind of the culture and the problems there and the opportunities there, and the people who are amazing, and we learn from them. And then you run an incredible marathon or half marathon at the end. So I was up and down this volcano a couple of times, which most spectacular courses. So working with them they've already raised $1 million for charity through the races. How do we raise more? How do we get more runners knowing about it with kind of limited marketing budgets? How do we make a greater impact as a company? So that's my kind of sporty favorite one. But I'm also working on some things on identification, kind of some more environmental projects, and settling my family in outside London, which is really important to get right. So for me, kind of giving the boys shorter days in their preschool and their nursery, spending more time with them now. We take so long to get to nursery in the morning because we pass lambs, we pass ducks, and we walk along the canal. We see horses and lambs, and we see how much they're growing. And then I'm training for spine. So I'm running Spine Fusion, which is a non-stop race along the Pennine Way in the UK, 270 miles non-stop at the end of June. So completely new challenge for me, and just getting my training sorted, getting everything sorted. Big Excel spreadsheet as usual, and so it's really, really busy. And then thinking, maybe, do I write a book? A lot of people have asked me to write a book about kind of motherhood and running, and thinking whether that might be the next project, but I'm not sure. Sounds quite scary.
Fantastic. I think you're not scared about that. Come on. You did the bigger and huge challenges. So I'm sure that a book will be such a exciting and inspirational for a lot of people, a lot of runners, and not only entrepreneurs in general, and moms, because they have to remember also to keep their dreams, not just be a mom, because it's already a big role, but at the same time keep yourself as following your dreams and not give up.
I think I never realized until this photo was taken that these are things that I just hold. I've learned lessons in life. I've learned so many lessons, and for me, this is just natural. Of course, I need to maintain this side of me because I know how important my mental health is. And it's really sad that some women I always talk at work, you say women ask permission and men ask forgiveness, and that's why they take the risks and they get promoted because they've got these successful projects. As a mother, we don't even bother asking for permission to do things for ourselves because we just don't think that we have the right to take that hour for ourselves. Even when we see our husband going off to football practice or for his time, we don't even have feel that that's okay because we don't have the role models that show it's okay. You're a great mom. You're a great mom if you're not with your kids 24 hours a day. In fact, you could possibly be a better mom if you have some time for yourself and you're more confident and you have stronger physical and mental health. And for me, that's the case. And everyone's different. But for me, I think, getting the message out there somehow through this, and maybe I write the book, Although you have to find kind of publishers and agents, and it's a whole new world for me that I need to start thinking about. But I'm so inspired by all the women that message me and I write with and sharing their stories, and they're so strong, and seeing how much as positivity has come from this from so many women is just such an honor, and I'm so humbled by it all. So for me, the kind of I never set out to be some empowering woman person, or kind of to have social. I had no Instagram until UTMB hit, and then I had to work out how to use it. I was rubbish. I'm still rubbish. But the more I can do to help other women, and to help kind of the men that support those women, I kind of feel that I really want to do it, because it's so wonderful for me to see the impact it has.
You are absolutely right. You can be a better mom if you also do something else for yourself and not just being there all the time.
I think so. And I look to inspire my children as well. And I think when I think about kind of UTMB, what kept me going was very much kind of during the week in Chamonix, you have all these children's races. And so my son did his first 400 meters, and he got like these kind of gear and like a t-shirt, and he remembers that race so clearly. But you see the finish line of all the other races that come through the town center, and everyone's cheering the whole week, and UTMB is one of the last. And he was looking at these families finishing together, and these men and women running with their kids, and he's like, "That's going to be me. I'm going to run with my mum. Like, mummy, like we're going to run together." And that kept me going, because like I could not finish because my 3-year-old wanted to finish with me, and he is amazing and he's so inspiring. I see him kind of, I want to be a better mother. I want to be a better role model. I don't have daughters. If I had daughters, then it would be the same thing. But my sons will grow up thinking women are strong and women are equal. And anything daddy can do, mummy can do, apart from throw a ball. I'm really bad at throwing balls, but he knows mummy can run faster than daddy, so it's kind of a balance. But it's so important to me to kind of spend the time with my children, not feeling guilty and feeling 100% with them, and not trying to multitask all the time. For me, it's far better to have someone else look after my children for a couple of hours and me get all the stuff I have to get done, so that when I pick them up, I'm with them 100%, and that's what they love. That works better for me. Guilt, I just don't read the media. I think as a mum, you can't do anything right. If you read things about whatever choice you make, there is someone that will tell you it's wrong. So whatever you do, you're wrong. So you might as well not listen to what anyone has to say and just do whatever you want, because you're going to be wrong anyway.
Well, you are so inspirational and a pearl of wisdom, I will call it. So just the last thing before we finish, I'm very interested about how it looks like now your spreadsheet, because everything is about spreadsheet. How does it look that?
There's spreadsheets on different things. So at the moment, I was looking at this morning. So at the moment, I've got one on kit selection. So looking at what I'm taking for spine, and I'm working with Charities, who are amazing, sustainable, amazing outerwear guys that have given me kit to test for spine. So I've got all my things and what they're giving me, and I'm testing everything out, and it's brilliant. Pack selection and shoe selection, socks, everything. So that's my kit. Then I have one on my training, which I fill in with my coach, and how much what I need to get there, when my peak weeks are, my recovery weeks. I'm about to go on holiday, so what I need to take for the different days. Then we have one on salt. So I am very susceptible to salt, to hyponatremia. I've been in a coma before with it on a race. It's a big safety thing for me. So kind of how many liters I take, how much salt I need, what I need at all the checkpoints. Spine, you only get resupplied 5 times in 270 miles of difficult terrain. So it's checkpoint bags, what's going to be in the bags, all my kit, everything going in the pack. It's all on Excel spreadsheets. So I've got another, I think, about 9 weeks until the race. and I just look at it every few days and add bits and take things away, and start thinking of my food, what I take between the points, what I can't carry, what's heavy, what's not, what the recovery shakes I want to take during the race, and then listing that out to what I need to trial and practice, and what I need, I know that's okay. So that's a complicated way to say. It's a big spreadsheet, and it will get me around, hopefully. All my pacings as well will be another one. So I'm hopefully going to speak to some people that have done the race before to think about how difficult the different legs are, what pace I expect to go. And that shows me what time I'll be at different areas. And for example, there's a burger van when you cross one of the motorways, and you won't have had food for a while. So you want to get to that motorway when the burger van is open to get the burgers. So I need to plan my race back so I'm getting my burger, because otherwise I have to carry more food.
Fantastic. That give you also aim for the right timing for everything. So, that's fantastic. Sophie, thanks so much to be our guest. It's such been a pleasure to have you. You are so inspirational. I'm looking forward to have the opportunity again to have you on the show, because there are so many aspects. Now you were speaking about the salt, the different of the common other stories, your past stories that I really would like to explore at one point. And of course, after your big race that is coming up, you said in 5 weeks?
In 9 weeks. So
9 weeks.
It starts on I think the 22nd of June, but you can all log in and track me. So I'm going to have a little tracker dot on my back. So you can log on to the Spine, the Montaigne Spine website, and just see where I am. And you can go to sleep and wake up, and I probably won't have gone that much further. So we call it dot tracking. So you can just dot track me for a few days and just laugh. Just laugh when you're having a glass of wine and a bowl of pasta that I am out in the dark, cold, wet, and miserable.
Well, I tell you what, I will definitely check it out. I will definitely follow in and sending to you energy from the other side. So, it was really a pleasure. If people, they would like to find you, to contact you, which is the best? Your Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or just let me know.
So the best way is Instagram. So I'm ultra_Sophie on Instagram, and message me through there and follow me to see what I'm going to do on the spine, because that's going to be interesting.
It's exciting. I'm looking forward to follow you, and looking forward to have you back just after that. Maybe it will be fun, so we can speak about that, your big adventure.
Perfect. Thank you for having me.
Thanks so much, Sophie. I really appreciate it. Enjoy your day, and speak to you very soon.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.